Hello everybody, Jake, your resident content cowboy here, and it's Monday. You know what that means. On Mondays, we do tier lists. We made it. Actually got the tier list on a Monday, boss. Great job. I'm a little proud of us as a crew right now, guys. Whatever. That means a lot from you, JK. And remember, on Wednesdays, we wear pink.
I'm sorry that people are so jealous of me, but I can't help it that I'm popular.
Our tier list for today. How hard is it to be good with these Pokemon? This is a pretty good tier list for new players, I would say. I'm going to give you a good idea of what Pokemon are tough to be really good with and what Pokemon are not so tough to be good with. And if you're just starting out, I would recommend playing the Pokemon in the lower tiers. Let me go through our tiers really quick here. We have our S tier, our Soup's hard tier. We have our A tier, a tough one tier. These are Pokemon that are tough, but you can get pretty good with them. We have our B tier. So, you know, ain't going anywhere, all right? Still got the B tier, and we have our C tier. Couldn't be easier. So the Pokemon all the way at the bottom of this tier list are ones that I think it's pretty easy to be good with, and ones all the way at the top I think are hard to be good with. Now, just because a Pokemon is at the top doesn't mean it's a great Pokemon. It just means it's kind of hard to be good with it. Although it could be a great Pokemon, and a Pokemon all the way at the bottom doesn't mean it's bad, it just means it's easy to play with. So let me know what you think in the comments, which ones you agree with, which ones you disagree with, and let's get started here. Let's start with our attackers. There are a ton of attackers. Let's start with the attackers today. You know what? Cinderace. I think Cinderace is right there sort of in the middle. I don't think Cinderace is too tough to be good with. One of the problems with Cinderace is that it's pretty squishy, and in path or lane, as they say, it's tough. So Cinderace really excels when it gets a ton of experience early, and because of that, you want to play Cinderace in the central area, which means you kind of need to know how to play in the central area. Because of that, Cinderace can be a little tricky, but it's an A-presser. You're just tapping the attack button most of the time with this Pokemon and doing well. There are a few reasons it could be easier, and that is because of the experience, so that's why I'm putting that one in the B tier here. Cramerran. I think Cramerran is a Soup's hard Pokemon, so if you are really good with Dive Air Slash, I think you're pretty solid right now. In fact, I see a lot of really high-level players playing Cramerran Dive Air Slash, and we might see it creep into some championships coming soon here. I would love to see some of the top players use this Pokemon, but without question, this Pokemon takes a lot of skill to be good with using this build. That's the build you're going to want to use if you want to win. So because of that, I would say Cramerran's one of the harder Pokemon in the game to be good with right now. It takes a lot of knowledge of Cram's positioning and how to dance around your enemies. I think Cram is one of the tougher Pokemon to be good with currently. Let's see, Gardevoir. I think Gardevoir is pretty high up there. I might put it into the Soup's hard tier. I think I might put it into the A tier right now. Guard is tough because it requires experience, although a little less now. It requires a lot of experience. It doesn't last hit super well still, and if you miss your Future Sight, if you're running Future Sight and you miss, you're kind of useless for a little bit. It's pretty squishy. It's honestly high up there. It's getting close to the S tier. I might knock it into the S tier. It's a really, it's a high skill ceiling. Ah! Okay. Okay, we're resetting. Have a sip of coffee. Calm yourself down, Jake. It is a high skill ceiling Pokemon. It's also pretty good. I don't know if it's the toughest, but it's up there. It's definitely up there. Let's see, our next attacker, Greninja. I think Greninja is A tier. So this tier list isn't what is the skill ceiling for this Pokemon, which is how good can you get with it. If that was the question, I think Greninja is one of the top in the game. But this is how tough is it to be good with this Pokemon, and I think you actually need to be able to play decently well mechanically to be good with Greninja. There are other Pokemon that I think outclass it as far as difficulty, but I do think Greninja is a pretty tough Pokemon to learn. You have to understand how to fight with it. You have to understand how to reset your serves. You have to know when to go in, when to not. It's a pretty tough Pokemon, but not one of the toughest in my opinion. Our next attacker, Ninetales. I would say this Pokemon's one of the easiest Pokemon in the game to be good with. maybe it's kind of close to B at times, but Ninetales is easy because anywhere you put it, except I guess for the central area, anywhere you put it, it's kind of easy to win your area with for a long time. Blizzard Avalanche, Dazzling Gleam, Aurora Veil, no matter what build you're using, Ninetales is an easy Pokemon to win with. That doesn't mean it's bad. Ninetales is actually really good. It's just an easy Pokemon to learn and do well with. And since we're on attackers that are easy, one of the easiest, maybe the easiest in the game, Pikachu. I think even if you're bad at this game, I mean, you could just tap the Electro Ball button and you're at least doing something, right? You just tap A, tap Electro Ball. I think Pikachu's one of the easiest Pokemon to be good with. In fact, for new players, I often recommend that they start with a Pokemon like Pikachu because while it is squishy and it doesn't have a ton of mobility, it just teaches you how to be good at the game and you don't have to do too much except kind of press your buttons. Now, you can get really good with Pikachu, don't get me wrong. It's a great Pokemon, but at the same time, I think it's an easy one. Sylveon is probably also in the easy tier for me. I'm trying to think if this is easy or B. So Mystical Fire is super easy. Hyper Voice also feels... You know what? I'm going to say Sylveon's pretty easy. I also think this Pokemon has a high skill ceiling, and teams are using this in some really exciting ways. So when you're really good with Sylveon, you can be really good. But this is an easy Pokemon to learn. I think Sylveon's very pick-up-and-play friendly. At level 4, you become a menace. So I think this is a super solid Pokemon. Easy to learn. Let's see, our next attacker here, Decidueye. I'd put Decidueye probably up into A. It almost makes its way into S, but it's actually not as tough mechanically as some of the other Pokemon, I think. As soon as you just realize, stay back, shoot your Spirit Shackles, I think you'll be all right. It does also require a lot of experience, you know, so it's kind of hanging out here with Gardevoir and Greninja a bit. I think it's tough, but not the toughest. It actually kind of gets close to B for me at some points, but because you've got to learn to stay back, I think that's what kind of ratchets it up a little bit higher than Cinderace. Let's see. Our next attacker, Venusaur, I think is simple. Simple. Venusaur is easy. Every Pokemon you need to learn the combo, right? Every Pokemon you need to understand how Petal Dance and Giga Drain work together, how Solar Beam works. But once you understand it, it's pretty basic. It's ranged. Any Pokemon that's ranged has a distinct advantage over melee Pokemon, I think, with ease of use, just because you don't have to be next to someone to do damage and put pressure and steal wild Pokemon. Venusaur, I think, is one of the easier characters in the game to learn. I think it's a really solid Pokemon too, but one of the easier ones. Duraludon, I would say, is B. The thing about Duraludon is it just has some mobility issues. I think that's Duraludon's biggest problem. And ever since they nerfed it, so it's not the most crazy overpowered Pokemon ever, I think you need a little skill to be good with Duraludon, but I definitely don't think it's one of the harder characters to learn. I think you could learn it pretty easily. I don't think it's too tough. Our next attacker, Espeon. Espeon is probably B. I don't think it's as easy as Sylveon necessarily. I think you've got to understand how to last hit a bit better, whereas Sylveon, you just kind of throw on your Hyper Voice and do some damage. It also evolves early, so when looking at the B tiers, I'd say it's probably one of the lower B tier Pokemon. It's not too tough to be good with, but you've got to kind of learn how to last hit and how to not play Stored Power. There we go, a little dig in at Stored Power in that one. I think we got all of our attackers here. I hope I'm not missing anyone. There are a bunch of them, right? Okay, let's go to let's do our all-rounders. I think Charizard it has its, I almost want to put this A. So here are my thoughts here. Char has a Unite move that can get canceled. You need to learn how to work around that. Char is tough in Path. You need to learn how to work around that. Char has one move that's kind of a bait, Fire Punch. I don't think it's very good. I might leave it B. You can move while you attack. I think I'm going to leave this one B, but this one's close to A for me. Again, not that I'm really ordering these in any specific way, but this one's close to A for me. Char has some difficulty, and it's the main thing you have to deal with Char, I think, is its Unite move getting canceled. That can be a little tough to learn, but once you get the hang of it, you just kind of know, yeah, I can't try to use my Unite against that Pokemon until this moment, and then I can't. So I'm going to say it's still B. But it might be actually even a little harder than that. To be good with Char, it might be a little tougher than that. Next all-rounder, Garchomp. Garchomp is one of the hardest Pokemon to be good with in the game. It shouldn't be. It doesn't feel like it's one of the hardest Pokemon to be good with. And that is because Garchomp, it feels like all you need to do is get your attacks word up and you're doing damage. But it has really weak last hitting potential. It's hard to stick to enemies. I just think it's one of the toughest Pokemon to be good with. It also, in my opinion, is not one of the most beneficial Pokemon to be good with. If you are a really good Greninja, Charizard, Cinder, like almost every Pokemon that we're looking at on this list, I think if you're really good with them, that's better than being really good with Garchomp, just in my opinion. Garchomp is not terrible, but I think it has one of the lowest I guess, cost-benefit analysis, you know? Being really amazing with Garchomp is cool, but why couldn't have you just been amazing with Greninja? I don't know. I know we're talking about different things here, but comparing it to all the other all-rounders, I also think, why wouldn't you just be good with one of the other all-rounders? Let's talk about another one, Lucario. I think Lucario, so here's the interesting thing about Lucario. I do not think it is that hard to be good with Lucario. Probably mid-B. However, Lucario is one of the best Pokemon in the game, and it has a high skill ceiling. So if you're amazing with it, and it's one of the best Pokemon in the game, you become one of the best players in the game, right? But even if you're okay with Lucario, it's pretty easy to do well with Lucario, which is why it's hanging out in this B tier right here. I don't think it's super difficult. When I first saw Lucario, and this was way back when the game came out, I was a little intimidated by it. I thought, oh, this is going to be tough mechanically. And then you play it and you think, oh, this is actually not tough at all. This Pokemon's just good. It's just really good. Really, really, really good. It's more mechanically intense than everyone in our C tier, but it's not that hard to be good with Lucario. I think Machamp is pretty close to that. Machamp might also be B. It might be A. I think because it doesn't have a dash early, I'm going to put it up into this A tier right here. It's close to Lucario. They're both not insanely hard to be good with, but I think Machamp takes a little more skill early on to figure out this Pokemon. Once you've done it, I mean, once you've figured out any of these Pokemon, it's kind of a breeze. But I do think Machamp is maybe a little more intense than Lucario when you're first kind of starting out in this game. Let's see. What next all-rounder? Serena? I think Serena's probably also A. It might be B. It might be B. Okay, so here's the thing with Serena. As opposed to Lucario, it needs to evolve 3 times. And it doesn't really get any good until level 6, I would say. It has a tough time in path because of that a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to say it's A. I would say it's a little tougher than someone like Lucario. And I know I'm kind of comparing them directly, but they're all rounders. They fill similar roles inside the game as well. Not every attacker is the same. Not every all-rounder is the same, but these 3 all-rounders that I've been talking about, Machamp, Serena, and Lucario, they're all kind of similar role-wise, position-wise. They fill similar things inside the game. So I would say, compared to Lucario especially, it's a little more difficult. I would put it up into that A tier. What is our next Pokemon here? Dragonite. I'd say Dragonite's B. I'd say Outrage Dragonite's probably an S, because I just think it takes a lot to actually be good with it. It's a very tough moveset to be good with. However, Hyper Beam is not a tough moveset to be good with, and Hyper Beam is also very, very good. So I think Dragonite kind of hangs out in this B tier realm. Not too tough to be good with. A solid Pokemon to have on any team. Hyper Beam is amazing the way it can take objectives. So I think Dragonite's a pretty solid one. Our next all-rounder, Aegis Slash. Aegis Slash is either A or S. I'm trying to think. I think it might be S. Now, again, with any of this, once you get the hang of Aegis Slash, it's not too tough. But to know the timing, yeah, I'm going to keep it S. To know the timing between Blade form and Shield form, I think to be good with this Pokemon, it takes some practice and some skill. However, unlike Garchomp, I think this Pokemon is amazing once you get really, really good at it. So I think it's one of the one of the tougher skilled Pokemon to play as, and also one of the more beneficial once you get really good with it. Azumarill. I might put Azumarill A. The basic mechanics of Azumarill are easy. However, Azumarill is not super easy to be good with. I'm going to put it A. I am. I think it's not tough to understand how Azumarill works. What is tough is figuring out how to make Azumarill work for your team. So because of that, I would say it's more of an A tier. Tough one to sort of get figured out. You have to learn when you're uniting, how to kind of get enemies by themselves, what to do in path, because you're usually battling multiple enemies at once. I think it's one of the tougher Pokemon to get good with. And, you know, it's got buffed a couple times, so I can't say it's bad or anything once you get good with it. But yeah, I think it's one of the tougher ones. Let's do our, you know, our speedster. We've got speedsters, we've got defenders and supporters here. Let's talk about, we've been doing a lot of heavy damage characters. Let's talk about some of our supporters. Blissey is maybe B, I think it's B. I think Blissey's B, and the only thing keeping it away from being a C tier, I think, is just knowing when to safeguard an ally, sort of the timing of your last hits and eggs. It's not ranged, so you kind of have to be up in the mix a little bit. That being said, Blissey's just really good. So if you're decent with it, you're pretty decent. If you're just using soft boiled and following around good players and healing them, I mean, you're in pretty good shape. But the thing that kind of keeps it out of being a C tier, couldn't be easier, is just probably the fact that it's not ranged, and you need some smarts to get your safeguards working correctly, to put them on the right person. I just think there are some important aspects of that. Our next supporter, Eldegoss, one of the easiest Pokemon in the game. One of the easiest. It's also a good Pokemon. One of the easiest. You're at range. You do great damage. Tap A. Shields are easy to put on everybody. Leaf Tornado secures pretty well. Your Unite move is easy to use. You can't get hit while you're using it. You heal. I think Eldegoss is one of the easier Pokemon in the game to be good with. If you need a support and you just want to start figuring out the game, Eldegoss is probably the easiest support to learn inside Unite. Mr. Mime is probably one of the hardest supports in the game to do well with. I think it's the hardest support in the game to do well with. It also doesn't really have the same benefit of a Blissey, Eldegoss. It's in a weird spot. I think to be an amazing Mime, it's actually one of the harder Pokemon to learn to get good with. Yeah, maybe it's A. It might be A. I might consider dropping that one back down to A. I mean, mechanically, it's not as intense as some of these Pokemon, but you just have to know what to do with it. I'm gonna set it A for now. I might change that. I might move it back up to S. It's a pretty tough Pokemon to figure out how to be super useful for your team with. But it does do a lot of damage, so it kind of makes up for that. Wigglytuff. I think Wigglytuff is probably one of the easier Pokemon to be good with inside the game. The only thing that might pop it out is that the fact that it's not ranged, again, like Blissey. However, Wigglytuff at the same time, I mean, it's just easy to walk near enemies and put them to sleep, I think. I guess its Unite move takes a little doing. I'm a little torn on Wiggly. Wiggly's between B and C for me right now. It might be B. It might be B, but all you need to do is just know to be near an enemy, put them to sleep, let your allies KO them. It might be B. I'm thinking about this one. And then we've got Hoopa. Hoopa's a weird one. I'm gonna say Hoopa is B. I'm gonna say it's B. This is probably C. Honestly, Hoopa's probably C. It's so good early. No, it's good all the time. What am I talking about? This Pokemon's good all the time. Just don't use your Unite move at the wrong place, but I mean, that's super. This Pokemon's easy to pick up and play. I think Hoopa's a simple one. As long as you don't use your Unite move 20 seconds before Zapdos or something like that, I think you're pretty good with this Pokemon. It's easy to KO people in lane. It's easy to secure wild Pokemon. Yeah, I think this one's super easy. Super easy. Hoopa's just nuts. Let's do our defenders. Why not? Blastoise, I don't think is too tough. I think there are some things with Blastoise that are a little difficult. It's a 3-stage evolution. It's okay in path early, not terrible, but also not amazing. It takes a little while to kind of get online with this Pokemon right here, but once you do, it's not too difficult to figure out what to do with Blastoise, even with its recent nerfs. I think it's still pretty solid. I don't think it's too tough to learn, but I also don't think it's the absolute easiest. I'm going to keep this as a B tier choice. That makes sense to me. Crustal, I think Crustal couldn't be easier. It's one of the easiest Pokemon to play well with. As long as you're not using Rock Tomb, I think Crustal's simple. You go fast, you hit with X-Scissor, or you put down your rocks. That's it. Go fast, X-Scissor, rocks. I don't think this Pokemon's too tough to learn at all. It's an easy Pokemon to learn. And, you know, right now, I've been having so much fun with the critical hits being back on Crustal, with the buff it got to its X-Scissor. So I think Crustal's in a pretty good shape right now, and I think it's an easy Pokemon. Let's see. Mammo, I think it's probably in the middle there. Mammo's in the middle. It's not as easy as a Pokemon like Crustal, I wouldn't say. It's pretty good early. It's kind of okay late. I think its big problem is it's still only okay late. Its Unite move's a little weak, but in general, I think it's decently tough to be good with this Pokemon. Decently tough, not crazy. Ooh, Greedent here. I'm gonna put Greedent in the S tier. Greedent requires so many things to learn how to be good with this Pokemon. You have to learn how Covet works if you're running that build, which can be tough. You have to learn when to use your berries. You have to understand how to, if you're going to invade, if you're going to steal wild Pokemon, if you're going to try to get, you just have to learn so many different things inside the game that I think it's hard to be good with Greedent early. But once you get the hang of it, Greedent's pretty amazing. I think it's one of the tougher Pokemon to learn how to be solid with. I really do. Maybe it's close to the A tier. I could see some arguments for it, but the thing about Greedent is so many things that work well with Greedent only work well with Greedent. So you've got to kind of learn a completely new way of playing Pokemon Unite when you're using this Pokemon. Let's see. Slowbro. I think Slowbro is probably B, maybe even C. It's ranged. No, it's C. I think this is an easy Pokemon to be good with. Easy, easy, easy. Scald is even pretty decent now. I like Surf better, but Scald's even pretty decent. It's hard to get KO'd with this Pokemon. You attack constantly at range. You steal enemy wild Pokemon with Water Gun. I think it's pretty easy to be good with this one. The only thing that kind of hurts it is its mobility. But in general, I think that's a Pokemon that's easy to win with, easy to be good with. Snorlax, this is an interesting one. I'm going to say Snorlax is probably A tier. I think it's one of the hardest defenders to be good with. It's easy to kind of learn the early game of Snorlax, but the late game of Snorlax, you've really got to figure out how to play this Pokemon. If you're running Flail, you have to learn how to actually use that and be beneficial for your team, not just get a KO every now and then. And then if you're using Heavy Slam and Block, you've got to learn how to give your teammates enough vision while at the same time protecting them so that they don't get dove on, while at the same time diving on the enemy team. I think Snorlax actually, to be good with Snorlax, it actually takes a little practice. I really do. Trevenant, I think Trevenant's probably B, maybe high B. So I don't think it's super easy, but it's also not super hard. Since it got the buffs, it's now way better in lane. Curse is just really good. It's just damage that kind of sits around you all the time. You've got to learn the mechanics of Horn Leech and stuff like that, but in general, I think Trevenant is not the toughest Pokemon to be good with. It's not the easiest either, but not the toughest. On to our Speedsters. Speedsters are naturally going to be tougher. They're all kind of tougher in some ways. I'm trying to think of where to rank them. I know where to rank one of them. I think Gengar is one of the hardest Pokemon in the game to be good with. It also has, great rewards if you can figure it out, but you've got to learn how to play Gengar to really succeed with it. It's not an easy pick up and play Pokemon. You just need to learn how to win with it. But once you do, this Pokemon kind of goes nuts. And right now, I see a lot of teams running it, a lot of top-ranked players running it. Gengar is in a really good spot in the game right now. And I also think, when you're really good, it's kind of easy to stomp on the enemy team with this Pokemon. Absol. I'm going to say Absol is A. I think it's A tier. You need to learn the flow of Absol. You need to learn how to get in and get out of a fight. I don't think it's as hard as Gengar, but because it's got mobility mainly, But yeah, I do think you need to learn how to play a Pokemon like this. One of the tougher ones, but also quite good right now. I think Absol is quite good. Talonflame, boy, these all kind of sit in a similar boat, honestly. They're just hanging out on a yacht together, I think. I think Talonflame is a lot like Absol. Talonflame maybe used to be a little easier, and here's what used to be easier. Fly used to do more damage and kind of have a lower cooldown. Brave Bird's gotten better, but Brave Bird's a little tougher to use because you don't have the same kind of escape. I think Talon, before I would have put it B, but lately with its nerfs and stuff, I'm going to put it A. I'm going to say it's an A tier as far as it's a little tough to learn. And also, I feel like it's struggling a little bit in the current meta. So that's where I'm going to put that. Zeraora, I honestly think not... I think it might be an S tier Pokemon for how good you have to be with it to get value out of it. So... again, this is not meaning this Pokemon is the best Pokemon in the game. I just think it takes so long to level it. You've got to either run Wild Charge, which is tough to prioritize exactly how you want to, and know when to use it so that you're invulnerable during, you know, big moments of the fight, and also recognizing you're not going to be able to get out super easily. Or then there's Discharge, where it seems easy. You just put on a field of electricity and you're around enemies, but you're not super tanky with this Pokemon. So you've got to be really careful about when you dive in, when you use your Discharge, when you pull back with Volt Switch or Spark. So I actually think this Pokemon's one of the tougher Pokemon in the game to be really, really effective with. And that's kind of what we're looking for in this list. Which Pokemon are hard to be super effective with and help the team. So I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think down here in the comments. And of course, before we go, we have a little fun. Is anyone watching Stranger Things? Just started watching it. Not just started watching, just started watching season 4. I'm having a good time with it. Yeah. So like I was saying, Pikachu is actually one of the harder Pokemon to be good with. It seems simple, but it's not simple. And now we're seeing so many Crustals because of Crustal's new buffs and everything like that. But Crustal also mechanically very difficult. Knowing the difference between when you need to be going fast and when you need to actually use your move is very, very big. Like I was saying earlier, some Pokemon that are pretty easy to use down in the B tier. Everyone knows how to use the sword. That's not too tough. And then a lot of Pokemon I'd say are tough to learn in this kind of this middle tier right here. Lots and lots of tough Pokemon to learn. Wigglytuff, obviously, it's got tough in the name, so it had to make it into this tier. Let me know what you think in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I love you very much, and I will see you all next time.